to help drive America.
Gwyneth's new movie, Laura Flynn Boyle and Sabrina, next ET.
The United States loses a friend and ally in the war on terror. Abdul Haq, caught and killed by the Taliban. Questions as to whether, and if so, how much, the U.S. tried to save him. On the home front, an anthrax victim is laid to rest as more traces of the killer bacteria are found. The government gets broad, sweeping powers to pursue suspected terrorists and taking off in a warplane for all seasons and all services. Advanced technology to rule the 21st century skies.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. On this 20th night of bombing, U.S. aircraft delivered another round of strikes. Witnesses again report explosions all around the Afghan capital of Kabul. What was hit and what, if any, effect the bombing is having on Afghanistan's Taliban leadership is unclear. What is clear is that the Taliban's leadership has caught and killed a prominent anti-Taliban chieftain, an act likely to be viewed inside the country as a victory for bin Laden's protectors and a defeat for the Americans, or at the very least, a failure of the U.S. to protect its friends and allies. CBS's Jim Axelrod is deep inside Afghanistan tonight, observing the action from the front lines just north of the capital.
Taliban forces were hammered again by American bombers today, but they did claim a victory of their own, the capture and execution of an old friend of the United States.
One of the brave commanders who lead the Afghan freedom fighters, Abdul Haq.
Haq was a revered commander who fought the Soviets in the 1980s. Recently, he'd been recruited to cross from Pakistan back into Taliban-controlled territory to build support for a peace plan.
Now I'm coming again. Not I'm coming for fight to take a gun and kill my people. I'm coming here to coordinate and remove some misunderstanding.
Caught with dollars and 2 satellite phones, Haq reportedly tried to call American helicopters for help before being captured, leaving these 3-week-old words as an epitaph.
What we're saying, enough is enough. There's enough killing, there's enough destruction, there's enough bloodshed. Let's come together.
Haq's death is a sharp blow to the anti-Taliban forces, who have been critical of the American effort, while praying for more help from the Americans and demanding better cooperation and communication from them. To underscore that point, American bombers hit a Red Cross facility in Kabul for the 2nd time this month. Despite that mistake, the United Front is urging the U.S. to pick up the bombing pace on the front north of Kabul.
To break through the front lines after an intensive air bombardment, it will take only 2 days, 3 days' time.
2 days, 3 days?
2 days, yes.
Aside from more intensive and sustained bombing, the United Front says what it needs most from the United States right now is closer coordination on bombing runs. That would more effectively target the Taliban and greatly reduce the growing number of civilian casualties. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, Jabal Sarraj, Afghanistan.
The capture and execution of Abdul Haq is raising new questions around the world about the conduct of the war in Afghanistan by America's military and political leaders. CBS News national security correspondent David Martin has the facts on what happened and what it could mean.
With the Taliban closing in on him, Abdul Haq used his cell phone to call an American friend in Pakistan, who in turn contacted this man, Robert McFarlane, former national security advisor to President Reagan.
He was boxed in on a steep mountainous road.
McFarlane alerted the U.S. military Haq needed help. An American aircraft arrived on the scene.
In fact, delivered ordnance accurately and destroyed a convoy, but they had gotten there too late to be able to be helpful, and Abdul Haq was captured and subsequently executed.
So despite 3 weeks of bombing, the Taliban still has enough control to track down and eliminate a key opposition leader, a fact that surely will not be lost on other opposition leaders the U.S. is counting on to overthrow the Taliban. While the Pentagon continues to release videos of pinpoint strikes, administration officials admit they are frustrated with progress in the war. When Britain announced today it is sending commandos for possible raids into Afghanistan, the Prime Minister sounded as though he never thought it would come to this.
It is only after
We have looked at every other possible alternative of meeting our objective, that we make a deployment such as this, but it is necessary to do it.
And here's another looming necessity: trying to strike targets through partial cloud cover. Deteriorating weather didn't save that Taliban tank, but winter is only going to bring more clouds. U.S. officials still insist it's only a matter of time before the Taliban collapses, but they admit it's taking longer than they thought. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
On the home war front, anthrax has turned up in another government mailroom. Traces were found today in an off-site facility that screens mail for the U.S. Supreme Court. Anthrax was also found in a mail handling building at CIA headquarters in Virginia. The director of the Centers of Disease Control says it's unlikely a State Department mail handler got anthrax from the letter sent to Senator Daschle, suggesting another tainted letter may still be out there. The nationwide death toll stands at 3. That includes 2 postal workers. President Bush says they died in the line of duty. Mika Brzezinski has our report.
Today, it was postal workers burying one of their own. Thomas Morris died Sunday night from inhalation anthrax. Even as his funeral was underway, President Bush was promising a more rapid response to anthrax in the mail.
And we will move quickly to treat and protect workers where positive exposures are found.
But that is doing little to calm many of the people who handle the nation's mail. The latest hot zone is in Manhattan, at the largest mail processing center in the country. 4 sorting machines like these were found with anthrax contamination, but the building remains open.
It is right for them to close that building down, do what they have to do, clean it out, and make sure it is safe.
The Postal Union in New York is filing suit to close it, the same way congressional offices were closed when anthrax was discovered there. The post office insists the building is safe.
If in the future a determination is made that the building should be closed, we'll do whatever the health professionals tell us to do.
All 5,000 workers at the New York facility are being given Cipro.
Like I say, if I develop any kind of symptoms, then I take out my pills.
Thousands of postal employees in Washington now have their pills too. The government has begun testing more than 200 postal facilities in the east, and in Trenton, New Jersey, 2 have been shut down altogether. Workers are being bused to other locations.
All we want is a peace of mind. That's all we want.
Late this afternoon, Washington, D.C. officials began releasing their latest test results of 22 mail facilities, reporting so far 1 post office came up positive for anthrax. It has now been closed. Dan.
Mika Brzezinski, thanks. The United States government has broad new authority tonight to deal with suspects in the war on terrorism. President Bush today signed legislation giving the government sweeping new powers to go after suspected terrorists with electronic eavesdropping, searches, and detention without charges. Civil libertarians say the law goes too far. The president says he will enforce it, quote, with all the urgency of a nation at war. CBS's John Roberts is at the White House.
The new anti-terrorism legislation signed by President Bush today opens the door to what's expected to be a blizzard of subpoenas to track suspected terrorists. The administration prepared to take full advantage of sweeping new powers to fight war on the home front.
The changes effective today will help counter a threat like no other our nation has ever faced.
The final bill was watered down from what the president had originally requested, and even so drew opposition from some lawmakers who fear its provisions for expanded wiretaps and detention of suspected terrorists go too far. Still, the bill's passage was an important confidence-building measure in what was otherwise considered in the back halls of the White House to have been a terrible week.
This has been a challenging week in that here on the home turf, personal security has taken a #1 priority, as opposed to what's going on halfway around the world in Afghanistan.
The death of 2 postal workers Monday and new anthrax infections almost every day provoked a flurry of mixed messages from the administration and left the White House struggling to appear in control.
This is a 2-front war. It's a 2-front war. And it's a war we're going to win on both fronts.
The president left for Camp David today amid expectations that polls out next week will show new fears on the home front taking center stage over support for a war that has shown little discernible progress in the past 10 days. In an attempt to refocus public attention on Afghanistan, the Secretary of Defense today convened a meeting of Republican strategists searching for ways to regain the momentum.
This anthrax episode of the last week has changed everything. The international diplomacy was working, the bombing was working. The problem is now you've got the American people hesitating and wondering what's going on and what's next.
Complicating matters, the White House is still no closer to knowing where the anthrax came from or who was responsible for launching the attacks. In fact, the best they could do this week was to broaden the range of possible suspects, not narrow it down. Dan?
John Roberts live at the White House. Even as it conducts the current war on terrorism, the U.S. military must prepare for future conflicts. As CBS's Bob McNamara reports tonight, the Pentagon has awarded a record $200 billion contract for a unique multi-function aircraft, the Joint Strike Fighter.
The dogfight over the richest defense contract ever came down to 2 strike jet fighters, Lockheed Martin's X-35 prototype and Boeing's radically advanced test model, the X-32. The jackpot winner was announced at the Pentagon.
It is our conclusion, joined in by our colleagues from the United Kingdom, that the Lockheed Martin team is the winner.
At Lockheed's Fort Worth plant, employees were more than euphoric.
One word describes how I feel today, and that's ecstatic. Yes.
Built to be a supersonic fighter for the Air Force, a short takeoff and landing jet for Navy aircraft carriers, and a hovering vertical jump jet for the Marines, Lockheed could win an order for 3,000 jets from the Pentagon, 150 more from Britain's Royal Air Force and Marines, a possible $200 billion deal just for starters.
Maybe $200 billion more for exports, and then when you add in the costs over its 30-year life, maybe close to $1 trillion.
For Boeing, some analysts say, the X-32, engineered and designed like no other fighter before, was risking potential trouble.
The basic problem with the Boeing design is that it was so revolutionary that it was hard to implement.
Clearly, it's a real disappointment to us. On the other hand, this was a tough competition.
Lockheed's lifeblood is defense work, and winning the contract was a matter of survival. And now that 11,000 jobs appear safe, 9,000 more workers will be added to build a new plane. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Dallas.
Dr. Bernadine Healy resigned today as president of the American Red Cross, the nation's biggest charity. Healy, a cardiologist and a CBS News consultant, said she was forced out over what are called, quote, policy differences with the Red Cross board. In particular, her opposition to using any of the $500 million raised for victims of the September 11th attacks for any other Red Cross operations. Up next here on the CBS Evening News, why terrorists find fast-growing, sun-baked Arizona so attractive.
Just when it seems like life couldn't get any better, your whole world can turn upside down. But if you're a Farmers Insurance customer, you can call our new Help Point service the moment it happens. We can answer the questions you can't. Farmers Help Point is here to care and really take care when you need it most. Farmers, get you back where you belong.
I ate Quaker oatmeal for 30 days. It actually works to remove cholesterol from your body. Sucks it right out. Help lower my cholesterol 10 points. That's even more than I bargained for. Quaker oatmeal warms you heart and soul.
When I started having hot flashes and night sweats at menopause, my doctor recommended hormone replacement therapy, but I didn't listen.
Up to 20% of a woman's expected lifetime bone loss occurs in the years following menopause.
A year later, I went back to my doctor and found I'd shrunk an inch. I went on HRT, and I've been on it for years. My hot flashes and night sweats, gone. I feel great.
HRT is not for all women. Talk to your doctor about the benefits and risks.
The time to protect your future is now.
I'm every man.
And every woman who ever suffered from frequent, persistent heartburn.
If you've treated your heartburn and changed your diet, but it comes back 2 or more days a week, then you may know about the burning pain of acid reflux disease.
But there's something about acid reflux that I didn't know.
Over time, that acid churning up can wear away the lining of your esophagus.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't.
But today, there's a purple pill called Nexium. It's from the makers of Prilosec. Just one prescription Nexium a day gives many people complete resolution of heartburn symptoms.
That could mean complete heartburn relief.
And importantly, Nexium is also proven to heal erosions in the esophagus caused by acid reflux. Only a doctor can determine if you have this damage. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. The most common side effects of Nexium and Prilosec are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So talk to your doctor and call this number for more information and for a free trial certificate for Nexium.
Relieve the heartburn, heal the damage. It's possible with today's purple pill called Nexium.
Driveway's almost done.
Clam chowder?
Condensed soup. We're adults now. There's a better tasting soup. Progresso New England clam chowder. More chunks of clam than potatoes. See the difference?
This is better.
Now with 50% more clams in every bowl.
There's new word tonight about a possible Iraqi connection to the attack on America. Shortly after the attack, it was reported here and elsewhere that suspected hijack ringleader Mohammed Atta had previously traveled to the Czech Republic to meet one of Saddam Hussein's top spies. Today, the Czech Interior Minister confirmed that meeting did take place in Prague early this year. At least 3 of the other hijackers had homes in Arizona. With the World Series opening tomorrow in Phoenix, security is unprecedented in a rugged desert state. Terrorists have often found a comfortable setting, as CBS's Vince Gonzalez reports in tonight's Eye on America.
Nearly 200,000 people will attend the World Series and NASCAR races in Phoenix this weekend. Security will be the tightest in the history of Arizona, a state law enforcement officials admit has a history of attracting terrorists.
There are terrorists among us. I think Arizona probably has a disproportionate share of those kinds of people because we have a number of things that are conducive to terrorists coming to Arizona.
3 of the men believed to have hijacked the jet that slammed into the Pentagon lived in Arizona and learned to fly there. A 4th suspect on the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania also had an Arizona address. Phoenix pilot Lotfi Raisi, arrested after the attacks, allegedly took part in the plot and taught the hijackers here, where flying weather is perfect year-round. According to this government watch list, authorities have questioned or detained numerous Arizona residents and are looking for many more. According to one report, agents are seeking an Afghan pilot who reportedly applied for a crop duster license. Arabic flight manuals and ammunition were found in a Tucson apartment vacated by 2 Middle Eastern men.
Where they are, I don't know. They might still be in Tucson. Maybe they're in Phoenix.
It's easy for terrorists to hide in Arizona, one of America's fastest growing states.
We already have a fairly substantial Middle Eastern population that they can blend into.
Bin Laden's organization has a history of blending into Arizona. Former Tucson resident Wadi El Haj was recently sentenced to life for his role in the African embassy bombings, a Bin Laden operation. El Haj also bought weapons for terrorists convicted in the first World Trade Center bombing. He helped buy a passenger jet from this Arizona Air Force base for Bin Laden and later became his personal assistant. El Haj has also been connected to the 1990 stabbing death of this Tucson mosque leader. Rashad Khalifa was hated by Muslim extremists opposed to his teachings. His murderer was never caught, but El Haj, who was indicted for lying about the case, called the assassination a good thing. Long before Bin Laden, terrorists called Arizona home. Palestinians targeting the White House and Israel's prime minister in 1981 got their explosives in Phoenix. Even the man executed for what is now the 2nd worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil tested his bombs in Arizona. In Los Angeles, I'm Vince Gonzalez for Eye on America.
I quit. Feeling lethargic.
I quit. Feeling bloated again and again.
It's time to quit. Quit the cycle of irregularity with Metamucil Daily Fiber Therapy. With Metamucil, you don't just get regular, you stay regular. Day after day, week after week.
I didn't just quit. I quit for good.
And you can too.
Metamucil Daily Fiber Therapy. Get regular, stay regular.
Enter a new era of discovery at Bristol-Myers Squibb, where groundbreaking genetic research is underway.
Winning the Tour de France was a victory for cancer medicines. But Luke, it's just the start of incredible things to come. Imagine, Luke, your medical history. A story of your genes on a card you carry in your wallet. Your doctor sees your cancer coming years before and gives you a daily pill to take that could prevent it.
At the Bristol-Myers Squibb Center for Applied Genomics, researchers strive to unlock the secrets of breast and colon cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes. They're developing medicines tailored to your unique genes. Bristol-Myers Squibb is beginning a revolution in medicine. Our goal is to extend and enhance life and to lead the way in new frontiers against disease.
Hope, triumph, and the miracle of medicine. Bristol-Myers Squibb Company.
I feel like it's crazy here. My family always eats in shifts. There's the twins first, home from school, then there's soccer practice. My daughter, Doreen, she's off to work. Then my husband comes home. He's always late. Thank goodness I found this new kind of dinner roll from Pillsbury.
From the freezer.
I just take out what I need, 2 or 10, throw them in the oven, and bake them up in minutes. It's perfect because I have everything ready whenever they decide to show up. Authentic home-baked classics.
In the freezer.
I don't know what I'd do without them.
When that pastrami on rye catches up with me, heartburn big time. My passenger says, here, take a Zantac 75. I say, what are you, a doctor? And he says, yeah.
Zantac 75, the heartburn relief doctors trust.
Pete Sampras knows about One-A-Day's new active multivitamin with more B vitamins and ginseng to enhance energy. One-A-Day. Get active, stay active.
Did Saddam Hussein have a hand in the terror attack on the United States? Leslie Stahl reports from Saddam's Iraq, Sunday on 60 Minutes.
The U.S.-led bombing campaign in Afghanistan may be inflicting heavy damage on the ground, but it has also produced a daily barrage of words and pictures from both sides. In this war of propaganda, the battle for public opinion, U.S. military firepower and the damage it can inflict may be twisted by the terrorists, as CBS's Mark Phillips reports, into a weapon of the mind.
Yesterday, U.S. forces struck in more than a dozen target areas that included terrorist camps.
There's another kind of war going on here, one that pits images like this against images like this, a child hit by shrapnel and debris from an American bomb. Villagers say as U.S. planes targeted a Taliban installation nearby. The victims are showing up seeking care in Pakistan, their eyewitness accounts getting wide exposure around the world. A shopkeeper who says he was trying to rescue people from a collapsed building after one bombing run when another bomb hit. A woman so traumatized she could only mutter one phrase, "I have lost my family." The Taliban themselves have been supplying their own images of what they say are bombing victims. And while these cannot be independently verified, the power of these images is not lost on those directing the U.S.-led campaign.
Images where they're parading journalists up and down in front of bodies that they contend were the result of U.S. airstrikes, when they're not, nonetheless, are images that can be persuasive. I also think that the truth can be persuasive over time.
But the truth is also elusive, especially when the bombing and the quick-hit commando raids have yet to produce any perceived weakness in the Taliban regime and certainly haven't produced Osama bin Laden. Already, support for the bombing in some countries has begun to soften. In a new opinion poll in Germany, 70% now want a pause in the attacks. And the editor of an Arabic newspaper published in the West and the Middle East says he's already hearing difficult questions.
They will say to them, look, you know, why we invested all these amounts of money and efforts and even sacrificing our image as a civilized people just to kill children and to kill innocent people. Where are you dragging us to?
The U.S.-led coalition acknowledges that a propaganda war is being waged as well, a war in which these images are perhaps fading in the international public mind, and these images are fresh. Mark Phillips, CBS News, London.
There's more CBS News coming up for you, so stay here with us.
Now, the same caltrate that helps fight bone loss may help your colon too. In a recent study, caltrate helped reduce the risk of recurrence of colon polyps, a risk factor for colon cancer. The same caltrate you take for your bones, now for colon health too.
Tired of struggling down glass after glass of powdered fiber for regularity? Consider refreshing glasses of water with FiberCon tablets. A whole lot easier to take.
And every bit as effective as powder.
FiberCon, refreshingly easier to take.
If I had a man like Hefty,
He'd always be coming up with new ways to impress me.
Introducing Hefty the Gripper, the first kitchen bag with a stretch and grip top so it hugs the can and won't slip.
Oh, and he'd know how to hold on tight.
Then he wouldn't cave under pressure. Nothing's made like the Gripper. It stretches, grips, and stays put so it can take it like a man.
And when I'm done with him, ciao, baby.
Bye-bye. So long. The Gripper, new from Hefty, the strong, dependable type.
It seems like only yesterday. When I started skating at 8 years old, I never thought I'd experience the thrill of winning a medal. With all the great memories has come another thing I thought I'd never experience, the pain of osteoarthritis.
Vioxx is here, a prescription medicine for osteoarthritis pain. With one little pill a day, Vioxx can provide powerful 24-hour relief. Vioxx specifically targets only the COX-2 enzyme, a key source of arthritis pain. People with allergic reactions, such as asthma, to aspirin or other arthritis medicines should not take Vioxx. In rare cases, serious stomach problems, such as bleeding, can occur without warning. Tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. For more information, talk to your doctor about once daily Vioxx for the relief of osteoarthritis pain.
Perhaps my biggest victory is to be able to plan my day around my life instead of my pain.
Ask your doctor if Vioxx is right for you. Vioxx, for everyday victories.
When that pastrami on rye catches up with me, heartburn big time. My passenger says, here, take a Zantac 75. I say, what are you, a doctor? And he says, yeah.
Zantac 75, the heartburn relief doctors trust.
This Halloween, find fun somewhere new. Pillsbury Halloween cookies. With Linus's great pumpkin and chocolate ghosts. Just slice, bake, and eat before Halloween vanishes.
My heart to yours, Pillsbury.
Boeing loses its bid for a $200 billion defense contract. How will it affect the Northwest economy? At 6.
We close the week with two of the heroes of 9/11. Hundreds of New York's finest and bravest today remembered police officer Tommy Langone and firefighter Peter Langone, brothers who answered the call in the World Trade Center. After the first plane hit, Peter phoned his wife to say, "Turn on the TV. I'm going to the job." She never heard from him again. 2 widows, 4 children. The Langone brothers died together. Today they were honored together by their many brothers in uniform and by a grateful nation. That's part of our world tonight. Bob Schieffer will have what we think is an especially good Face the Nation Sunday morning. And Aaron Moriarty is here with a preview now of tonight's 48 Hours.
Tonight, a man who practiced medicine for 25 years. Too bad he wasn't a doctor.
I believed I could do anything.
The results were deadly. Why didn't anyone stop him? A 48 Hours investigation tonight.
48 Hours, 10 o'clock, 9 Central. And don't forget to set your clocks, watches, and other time-measuring devices back 1 hour for the return to standard time Sunday morning. Back an hour Sunday morning. Dan Rather reporting for the CBS Evening News. See you later tonight on 48 Hours.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com on the internet and on our interactive partner, America Online, at keyword CBS News.
Ways to make your own